Piers Morgan has hosted Andrew Tate on his podcast, whatever his stupid channel is called. That's what they talked about.
Controversial influence.
But yo, let me bring my cam down though. Because I know Piers Morgan, he be on two sides. Let me go right here. Let's enjoy.
So Andrew Tate will face no criminal charges over allegations made by multiple women who are suing him in a UK High Court civil case. 4 women have accused Tate of sexual violence in 2015. The Crown Prosecution Service said today that the legal test to bring criminal charges had not been met in that case specifically. Well, Andrew Tate joins me now to discuss this. Andrew Tate, welcome back to Uncensored. Just to be clear, so for those who have not been following the multiple cases that you've been involved with, tell me what it is that you've been addressed with today in relation to these specific charges.
Yeah, for anyone who's not been following, I can make it very simple. I became the most Googled man in the world, and I was saying things they didn't like, and all of a sudden, every single country I'd ever stepped foot in started attacking me with all these strange legal cases from decades ago. And the process is the punishment. You and I have been speaking for a long time. We're old friends. And every time we speak, there seems to be some new case against me, and you quite, rightly say, we'll wait to see what happens in court. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, and they all fall by the wayside. So every single member of parliament, Vice News, BBC, every single person who said they've spoken to my victims has spoken to one of these girls. And the CPS has just said that these girls don't even have enough evidence to allow me to be charged, proving that they were lying all along. We know that people lie, both men and women, especially where there's a financial incentive. So this is just one step closer to my complete exoneration, sir.
Okay, but as I understand it, and correct me...
That is a big derby for Tate, bro.
If your understanding is different to this. As I understand it, this is one case involving 4 women who are concurrently running a High Court civil case against you. So they will have their case in a civil case, but it won't be criminal now. But that doesn't impact the other constabulary, which brought 21 charges against you and your brother Tristan earlier this year, right? That's still ongoing and still separate to this.
That's correct. So these 4 girls, they did a crowdfund and they begged the world for money. And they spoke to loads of MPs and Vice News, etc. And it turns out they have no evidence at all. They begged the world for money, and now they're suing me for money. They're desperate for money. And then they went to the police, and the police said they have no evidence. So that's all gone. The reason that the case against me here with these 4 girls was thrown out is because I know who the 4 girls are. So I simply just sent the text messages. Remember, I've been investigated. I haven't resisted any investigations. I'm one of the most investigated men on the planet. I'm more innocent than probably everyone else in that studio because I've been investigated head to toe. I have cooperated with the police. I provided proof. I provided text message conversations that these girls are lying, and the case was thrown out. The other case you're describing with the 21 charges from forever ago, the CPS won't tell me who the girls are because they know if they tell me who the girls are, then I will prove that the girls are lying before they can charge, remand, drag me through a trial. So their intention is to not tell me who they are, which is incredible to me, that they're saying you're charged and you need to go to jail. We want to remand you. Here's an extradition warrant, but we won't tell you who the people are. So I can't possibly defend myself because that's a setup. That's a matrix attack. But once I find out who they are, that case will once again be dismissed, just like this one was.
Okay.
And
no, I'm going to make the point that I just want to be clear to viewers who are trying to follow all this because it's complicated.
Yeah. It's complicated. And I hate to interrupt you, sir, because I want you to talk. The only reason it's complicated is because they're trying very hard to drag up imaginary cases from the sky and they keep collapsing. It'd be very simple if I'd done something wrong.
Well, it is
if you do something wrong, you go to jail.
No, but I think it's important to use the correct language about what has happened here. It is a significant development. Clearly, the case that was brought against you by Hertfordshire police involving these 4 women, they have said they couldn't find evidence that met the bar for a criminal prosecution against you. It doesn't mean they can't continue these 4 women to continue the civil case against you. And it has no bearing, as we sit here, on the separate case brought against you by Bedfordshire Police, which the CPS announced separately in May, where it authorised 21 charges against you and Tristan, which included 10 against you relating to 3 alleged victims, including rape, actual bodily harm, human trafficking, and controlling prostitution for gain. Tristan faces 11 charges connected to 1 alleged victim, including rape, actual bodily harm, and human trafficking. So that is ongoing. Nothing that's happened today has any bearing on that prosecution by Bedfordshire Police. That's correct.
That's correct. And the reason that's ongoing, unlike the other one from Hertfordshire Police, is because they won't tell me who these victims are. And they won't because they know I'll get it thrown out in a week. I'll just say, well, here's the text messages proving they're lying. That's the end of the case, just like happened with the Bedfordshire one. So, correct. These girls can still sue me civilly. I can sue you civilly for having a terrible shirt, sir. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, they're desperate for money. I'm a very famous, very rich, very handsome, very charismatic, very well-known, very tall, very sexy individual. And lots of people want my money, and that's fine. They're going to lose in civil case, too, because they know they've done nothing wrong. And the CPS has already said I've done nothing wrong twice now. So it is what it is. It's just, it's quite interesting, Piers. If I was truly guilty of crimes, imagine how frustrating it would be to watch me for 4 years never go to jail. I mean, it's obvious to the whole world now that the process is the punishment for me, that I've never done anything wrong. Everyone knows I've done nothing wrong. The whole purpose of this is just to drag me to court, slander me in the media, make me spend money on lawyers, tie me up in litigation, restrict my movements. And that's all they're trying to do. The process itself is the punishment. They know I've done nothing wrong from the beginning. And you have sons, too. And I like to believe.
Yeah, Andrew Tate is actually innocent, though. Because me, I believe in this world, if you're actually guilty of things, if they got proof that you're actually guilty, you actually did something, it's not gonna take a long time, bro. Look Diddy, bro. Take Diddy for example. Diddy, they sentenced him to 50 months, which is 4 years and 2 months in jail. Look, how long did it even take Diddy to go into jail? 8 months? That's why it took them like this. And he's right now in jail serving his sentence. Unlike Andrew Tate. Andrew, they put him in jail in 2022. In April, that's the first time they put him in jail. And they came back again in December 2022. Ever since, until this day, he be fighting with these people. So the fact they still haven't put him in jail is because there's nothing. And they're trying to fabricate things. Trying to ruin his name. Trying to defamate him. Trying to label him as a human trafficker. Because right now, even though Andrew Tate is not convicted of anything, you cannot have him on this podcast. You cannot say about him. You can't invite him out. If you're a politician, you cannot agree with him. Because once you do it, they're going to say, oh, you're actually supporting an alleged human trafficker. That's what they wanted to do. Andrew Tate never been guilty of anything. That's what I genuinely believe, bro.
That if your son was accused by all these different states from all around the world of all these heinous
Give me a minute.
acts for 4 years, and he had to suffer jail and house arrest and lose all his money and have his name slandered, 4 years later when all the cases started falling by the wayside because the Los Angeles case has also fallen apart and collapsed. You yourself as a father would be standing there saying, this is incredible, this is insane that we have an innocent man here who's just endlessly attacked.
Well, look, as I've said to you repeatedly, I don't know whether you're guilty or not. I follow the process. I'm a journalist. I don't look upon it as a father or someone that knows you or any of these things. To me, the fair and proper way is called due process. And my only concern with you is, have you been afforded due process? What is interesting to me is the length of time this is all taking. That doesn't seem to me to be normal. You do hear stories like it, but it seems to me out of the norm. And it's certainly significant today that the criminal prosecution against you by one of these 2 British police constabularies has now been dropped, leaving a civil case there. That is clearly not an irrelevant fact as you and I debate this whole scenario surrounding you. But my question with the Bedfordshire police, from a legal perspective, are they obliged to tell you who the accusers are?
Well, that's what's so interesting. So you made a fantastic point there about this taking so long. The reason it's taking so long is because these cases are imaginary and they're stretching to the very, very limits of the law to try and pin something on my name. If I had done something wrong, it wouldn't be taking so long. So it's pretty obvious to anyone with a brain now that this is all a setup from the state. As for Bedfordshire, they are legally obliged to tell me who the victims are, the supposed alleged victims, but they only have to do that once I have been remanded. And if I go to the UK, I'll be remanded after this extradition warrant is executed. But that can't be executed currently because the Romanian state has a case against me for tax evasion, which will take at least 10 to 11 years. So this is something that's going to take 10 or 11 more years to eventually be satisfied.
Damn.
It's pretty ridiculous all in all. The whole thing is asinine and I've done nothing wrong. And it's just crazy.
Damn, that means 2035. We're still going to be hearing about Andrew Tate in his cases, bro. Jesus, man. Jesus, that is crazy, bro. 2035? God damn it. That time I'll be 30. 31 around them, my nigga. Jesus, man. Bro, this is crazy.
That the process itself is the punishment. We're going through all this garbage for so many years. And I like to think, and I respect your point of view. You made a very great point. You're a journalist. You follow the updates. Completely correct. That's a very professional way to handle it. But I think also we're human. And from a humanistic perspective, anybody with a functioning mind can look at what's happened to me across these last 4 years and come to the conclusion they were out to get me. They don't have much. They're desperate to try and pin something on me, and they can't seem to make it stick. And that's why it's taking so long. Nothing's really happening. A lot of these cases are falling by the wayside. If I was truly guilty of anything, considering how much they don't like me, I think we both agree I'd be in jail.
The case that you mention in Romania, which has to be resolved in totality before you can be extradited back to the UK to face these charges from Bedfordshire police. My understanding is that that whole case is ongoing. It's not just relating to tax issues, that the whole case involving the human trafficking, rape allegations and so on, that is still unresolved. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, so what happened there is in December of last year, the entire case under the Biden admin was thrown back to prosecutors for irregular evidence, basically corruption. The entire case file was littered with corruption. They had lied and made multiple mistakes. They had made false translations. They had made false documents for false girls who didn't exist. They lied from head to toe. It's the kind of thing that a prosecutor would go to jail for in a serious country. But of course, we're in Romania. And even the Romanian court threw the entire file back and said, there's irregularities in evidence. Basically, it was all corrupt. And the entire file was thrown back to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor was told he has to fix this file. Here we stand nearly 11 months later. The file is just sitting on his desk. He hasn't fixed anything. He hasn't changed anything. And the reason for that is because how can you fix things you've made up? You can't. So he's
right, but what is
important?
Right, but this is why the language around this is important, because there are people already, I see it all over social media, who are seizing this development today, which is a not insignificant development. That's why I wanted to talk to you. But they're seizing on it to say Andrew Tate's been cleared of all wrongdoing. And they're saying he was cleared of all wrongdoing in Romania, but that's not actually technically correct as we sit here.
Well, technically, yes, it is actually. The case was sent to court. The indictment was put together and sent to court. It went to the preliminary chamber, which is the Romanian version of checking if there's even a case to go to trial. And it was rejected by the preliminary chamber for irregularities in the evidence, saying that this is a falsified case. This is a political case where you've just lied about evidence, prosecutors. Give me something real. That's what the judge said. It's gone back to his desk for 11 months. And what's happened to it since, I'm not sure.
Right, but it's my point being, it's unresolved, and that is the reason. Well, hang on, and that's why you've not been extradited back to the UK to face the other charges. I mean, that's from a legal perspective, that is where you are, right?
By Romanian law, when the case is rejected in the preliminary chamber, it goes back on the prosecutor's desk, and it can remain there for up to 10 years to basically be tried again at his discretion. So I understand he's going to try again at some point, perhaps with some of the financial crime. As we all know, I have lots and lots of money. I'm very, very rich. So the Romanians seem to be unhappy about parts of that. So perhaps he's going to send it back without the human trafficking and just the tax. Or maybe he'll leave a bit of the human trafficking in there. I'm not sure what he's going to eventually send it back with. But when he does send it back, that means it's 10 years before the British state can even attempt to extradite me. So I'll have to just drive around Transylvania in my supercars for 10 years while dealing with the Romanian court system.
Well, I mean, that does seem to be a preposterous situation if indeed they did decide to string this out for many more years, which, of course, look, like I said to you, I don't know about your guilt or otherwise. I simply follow the news as it develops. But certainly, if you're one of the women that are still awaiting the prosecution for the Bedfordshire charges, the idea that they would, just in terms of due process for them, the idea that their allegations would not be tested in court until potentially 10 years have elapsed on the Romania case, I mean, I'm sure you would agree that isn't due process. That isn't fair on them either.
Well, I would agree that this whole thing from the beginning has been a farce. I would agree that, yes, the prosecutor now has a choice. He can either throw the entire file out.
Am I wrong? Am I dreaming? What the fuck is that Andrew Tate's hate, bro? Did they punch him right there, bro? Yo, Chad, did they punch Andrew Tate on his forehead like this, bro? Or maybe they want to shot him a bullet. God damn. Every time he's speaking, it's look like they're on that point.
And I get extradited to the UK, but then the Romanian state owes me a whole bunch of money for false imprisonment. So they can't do that. So they have to send something to court, of course. And that's going to take 10 years. So this whole thing from the beginning has been a farce. The whole thing's been a setup from the beginning. The process is to punishment from the beginning. I've never done anything wrong from the beginning. And when we first met, when you were here and we were discussing Israel, Gaza, and all those things, all of our discussions were around this Romania case, which was thrown out after our meeting. And now we have this new British case, which popped up after our meeting. And one of them already got thrown out already. And then there's another one, which they're trying to extradite me on, but they won't tell me who the victims are. I mean, Piers, if they said to your son 20 years ago he hurt a girl, but we won't tell you who, where, when, we won't tell you anything. We'll just say 20 years ago you hurt a girl, and we won't give you any details. Of course, you're going to sit there and go, well, this sounds made up. I don't even know where this is supposed to have happened. I don't even know the person's name. This is obviously a farce. The whole thing's been a farce from the beginning. And just so you understand, the primary objective of all of this is twofold. One is to stop me voluntarily going to England because they know I'm a political force and they know I'll overthrow Labour. And secondly, the main reason is so that every time my name is said, people talk about the allegations against me as opposed to my ideas. They don't want anyone to talk about my fantastic ideas or my fantastic influence. They want people to talk about the allegations against me, which is why they try and keep these allegations open and going on for so long. There is no due process, Piers, because there is no guilt. There isn't even any victims in law of this. The
reality is we don't know that yet. And in relation to your ideas, as you heard from me to your face in our last interview, which got pretty passionate, as it often does, I don't share some of your ideas. I think some of them are reprehensible. But it is a fact, as I say to people, that when I walk around, I'd say 1 in 5 young men...
Why is Andrew Tate kind of look like Jesus Christ? Try Mike Lacing or don't you guys think this guy kind of look like Jesus Christ from the movies, bro? Imagine giving this guy long hair, bro. Seriously, gonna put him on a cross, my nigga. Put him between some two robbers, man. Put him on a cross, fuck him up, and he gonna resuscitate in 3 days, I think. we got a British Jesus, my nigga. We got a misogynist Jesus. I ain't gonna cap. Wake up to 2025, G.
Come up to me, want to talk about you, and you know what they asked me? Is he guilty? And I don't know. But I do know they're going to see headlines like today, and they're going to see it immediately spun incorrectly by a lot of people on both sides, people that hate you and people that love you, and they're going to spin it to suit their agenda. And that is why it's really important to me as a journalist to keep to the facts as we know them. So the question about Romania, if they decide to make a final decision about you, say for argument's sake, they drop the charges against you tomorrow, you would then be presumably immediately extradited to the UK. Is that your understanding?
I don't think it would work immediately. They would have to file to drop the charges, and they would have to justify to drop the charges, and they'd have to explain why they put me through all of these things while they don't have a case. And then Cheto would come involved because the European court would have to get involved for why I was falsely imprisoned and I was locked up for 3 years, and they'd owe me about $100 million in false and lost income. And then there'd be a whole case around that. All my judicial processes would have to finish in Romania before I could be extradited. So either way, it's a minimum of 10 years.
Is your instinct that you don't know who's brought these allegations to Bedfordshire police in these 21 charges, but we know it's 3 women in your case, 1 in Tristan's case. Is it your belief that all of those women are more likely than not to have worked for you and Tristan?
Absolutely not. I know every girl who worked for me, and they all contacted me and defended me. Every single girl who's ever worked for me has defended me. What happened is when the Romanian case started to fall apart after we were let out of jail, and the British Foreign Office, who wrote to the Romanians and said, destroy these guys, the Romanians said there's nothing to destroy them with. Then the National Crime Agency launched something called Operation Moonwalk. And they called 2,000 women who had ever known me, my gardener's daughter, my neighbors who I used to live next to, 2,000 women. And amongst those 2,000, they managed to find 3 girls who, of course, are lying for financial gain. And they've come up with this entire bogus case. And I've said, okay, who are the girls? And they're saying, we're not telling you. We're not going to tell you when. We're not going to tell you where. We're not going to tell you who. We're just going to say you've done bad things 15 years ago. And it's a whole big farce from the beginning. If you call 2,000 women who a man has ever known throughout his entire life, of course you can find 3 liars. considering that 20% of people are on antidepressants and 10% of people have mental health issues. I'm surprised they only found 3 of the 2,000. But it's a whole farce from the beginning. It's never going to stand up in court. It's not fair. And if they did the same thing to your sons, called 2,000 women they'd ever interacted with, they'd find 3 girls to lie too. That's just human nature. So the whole thing's been a setup from the beginning. None of it's ever been fair. None of it's ever been fair.
Your UK solicitor, Andrew Ford, welcomed today's decision and said, despite much external pressure, the evidence speaks for itself in this case, and the Crown Prosecution Service have rightly confirmed the evidence is inadequate to provide any realistic prospective
This video make me feel sleepy on cap.
conviction. The reason the CPS made this decision will become obvious when the evidence is played out during these civil proceedings. So, I mean, what is he suggesting there? What do you believe is going to come out of the civil case, which is going to make this decision by the CPS obvious?
Well, I have an upcoming civil case, so I have to be careful what I say. But in a hypothetical scenario, if girls are going to accuse a man of rape or sexual assault and then continue to see him for years afterwards and continue to text him and continue to buy him birthday presents and continue to beg to want to be with him and continue to call his phone and sit outside his house when he doesn't reply to them, and then start asking him for money and getting very angry when they don't get money, I think it's pretty clear to see the motivations behind a false criminal accusation. I don't think anybody with a functioning mind, is going to be confused about why this is happening. And the Bedfordshire case is garbage too. All of this is garbage. Piers, I understand you're a journalist. I understand you have to be very careful what you say. However, you are a father to sons, and it's very unfair that we live in a world now where any man can just be unfairly attacked, unfairly lied about, and they have to suffer the process of this entire insanity for years before eventually it turns out the girls lied. Because what happens to those liars?
Well, look, I think it's very unfair. I think it's very unfair if anyone doesn't get due process, whether that's a male who's been accused of things, a woman who's making the allegations. The legal system should work properly, and there are far too many examples where it doesn't work properly. I don't know. In your case, like I keep saying, I have no idea how this is all going to finally unravel. All we do know.
Piers is going to probably watch a lot of Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump, if you ask him some complicated question, he's going to say, I don't know.
As a fact today is that so far you have not been convicted of any crimes. That is the only fact that we know for sure.
Yeah, and that's a very important fact, because if we keep in mind I was enemy number 1 of the system, I was the most Googled man on the planet, that federal agencies from 3 different countries, America, UK, Germany, Poland, Romania, 5 different countries have investigated me, that I've handed over all of my electronics. If I had done anything, if I had smoked weed, if I had taken steroids, if I had gone to an orgy, if I had had a homosexual experience, if I had done anything, all of these things would be all over the paper. And what do they have on me? Nothing. I'm cleaner than 99% of the people you walk past in the mall. Because if anyone else had their lives investigated to the level mine's been, you'd see a whole bunch of skeletons in their closet. I haven't done anything. I raise my children. I work hard. I train hard. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I haven't done anything. And they're very disappointed by how clean my life is. And that's the truth, because they have been desperate to put me in a cell, desperate. And they've given the NCA, Operation Moonwalk, Britain, as broke as it is, dedicated hundreds of thousands of pounds to trying to put me in jail, as if they don't have other things to pay for, as the streets of London run with blood. They have tried so hard, and they are failing. I am an innocent man. It is not that hard to put a guilty man in jail.
Final question. You've talked before about having a relationship of kind with some of the Trump family. Have you heard from any of them recently?
No, I think they've got much bigger concerns than my cases. I don't think they're very interested in any of my cases.
True.
I've always been a Trump fan. I think he's, the best choice for America. I think he's doing a fantastic thing.
After all the dick riding, Andrew Tate didn't even get no help from Trump. And they still gotta keep dick riding? My nigga, what you want? Like, why Andrew Tate dick ride Donald Trump so much like this, my friend? God damn, this is crazy. This is genuinely crazy, bro. Why does Andrew Tate keep dick riding him? Donald Trump literally helped him zero. He didn't give a fuck about him. He went to USA, straight up got charges. Straight up got investigations. Donald Trump doesn't care about him. He thinks Andrew Tate is some fanboy. The same way Andrew Tate treats some other fanboys trying to glaze him, he be like, oh, those are fanboys, man. I don't even take pictures with them. Same thing with Donald Trump. think Andrew Tate is fanboy, yeah. Fanboy is struggling, yeah. I don't know. That is crazy, bro. Let me hope Andrew Tate is lying. Let me hope Donald Trump doesn't think of him like this, because everything Andrew Tate did during the elections, that will literally go to zero, my G. He did a couple streams when Donald Trump got shot. He did a stream when he was asking people to vote for Trump. He literally painted his background with Trump. You see that shit which is behind him, which says Tate? During the election, it said Trump. Like, it was crazy. The guy glazed. That was the definition of glazing. People say people glaze Martin and Duke, Dennis. You haven't seen Andrew Tate glazing Elon and Donald Trump. That is crazy.
But they're not interested in trying to help me in any way. When I went to America,
They're not interested. All the glazing for what, Andrew? You glazed for years, my G. Since COVID, since you was a nobody, you was glazing. You became the best. You became the most famous person in 2022. You kept glazing. 2023, you kept the glaze. 2024, the glaze. 2025 is still glazing. And they still don't give a fuck about you, my nigga. Like, that is the last thing I can ever do. Let me give you guys an example. Let's say, for example, I talk to a girl, she's not feeling me, this and that. I be giving her my time and she's not, like, responding to it, this and that. Do you think I'm gonna try to keep pursuing her? Hell no.
when I first got released from Romania, I didn't hear from them either. So I haven't heard from them, but I think that perhaps a lot of Republicans understand, because of what happened to our great president, that the legal systems are very often weaponized by the
What happened to our great president?
enemies of truth to attack people who have done nothing wrong. Remember, Trump himself went through a whole bunch of bogus legal cases. Trump himself was actually convicted. I haven't even been
And he
convicted.
didn't even go to jail. That is the craziest part.
Trump himself was convicted of all these stupid allegations and heinous crimes on very little evidence. So I think
That is the proof. Once you got money, you fine, my nigga. If Donald Trump can be convicted of 21 crimes and doesn't even serve 24 hours in a jail cell, and he goes along to become a president, what does that tell about the world, my nigga? That all of this shit is fake. All of this is fake. It's all fake. And it's fine to be fake. I don't care. If billionaires don't go to jail, I'm not gonna cry about it. I would try to be a billionaire. Or be a close friend with a billionaire, right? Yeah, for sure.
Most functioning people now understand the legal system can be weaponized, and they understand that what's happening to me is very clearly lawfare. I'm very clearly a victim of a corrupt system because I'm speaking the truth against the matrix, and anybody with a functioning mind can see that.
Well, it remains to be seen whether any of what you just said is correct. What we do know with Donald Trump, actually, just to be technically correct, he wasn't convicted of anything other than one set of charges relating to a one-night stand with a porn star, which I thought at the time was utterly ridiculous overreach against a president of the United States who had only recently been in office, and made a mockery of the justice system in America. The other cases, as we know, they are no longer active. They were discontinued. But that particular one that they convicted him of, I thought was a complete farce.
Absolute ridiculous overreach of the American judicial system. It was an absolute ridiculous overreach of the British judicial system to put people in jail for Facebook messages. And it's an absolute ridiculous overreach of the Romanian judicial system to lock me in my house for 3 years and then have the case thrown out because they made up the victims, because it was all completely fake. Please understand, in any other country, which isn't so corrupt, prosecutors would be in jail for what they did to me here. You can't just make up victims and make up papers and print out lies and put people in jail.
Let me ask you a question. Just talking to you today, you sound very calm, very direct, completely different to how you were in our last interview, where you started ranting quite regularly.
You know, yeah, if you see the last interview I even react to it, that was funny because Andrew Tate was trying to make a point. And if you know, one of the best Piers Morgan tactics is, you know, to intercept people when they're speaking so that they're not going to be able to finish their points. And Andrew Tate came aggressive. I don't know if he'd been in the gym, but he was yelling. He was yelling. Bro, Andrew Tate landed every point. He could not let Piers Morgan intercept him. Yeah, so he's like, you gotta come today. What happened, you know? You're not like the last time. That is what Piers Morgan is saying. But I would literally recommend you to watch the last one. With Piers Morgan, it was a really dope interview. They were talking about Irina Zarutska. They was talking about Charlie Kirk getting killed. And Andrew Tate made really good points. The interview had over 30K comments. It had over 3 million views. And most of the comments, like 99.9%, they were all in favor of Andrew Tate. So that's good.
Completely different to how you were in our last interview, where you started ranting quite regularly about all sorts of stuff. And at the end of it, we got into it about your views about women's place in society. You said they should have no right to vote, they should have no power, they should not have any job, they should stay at home, and so on. And I got a lot of feedback to that, which was, whatever you think of Andrew Tate, whether you think he's guilty or not of these charges, and we just don't know yet because they're still ongoing. But whatever you think of him, he does himself absolutely no favors in the way that he talks about women. And he does it so brazenly and with such apparent pride. You know, when you think,
because whenever Andrew Tate goes on a podcast, he be trashing himself, he be saying a lot of crazy things, you be like, how is this guy not in jail? So when he did one with Buddy Blue on Rob Moore, you should guys go check it too. It was funny, and Andrew Tate was the first time ever supporting feminism, supporting everything. He was trying to save some jail time, and it kind of worked. So now he's back to his old ways, for sure.
Back to our last exchange, are you entirely comfortable with the way that you talked about women in that interview?
Absolutely. I think you just misunderstand me. Women are very powerful creatures. In fact, they're magical creatures because they give life. And a woman's power is to give life and to be a feminine woman who is the head of a beautiful family and to have as many children with the man she loves as possible. That is what women are fantastic at. That is what society needs. Our birth rates are collapsing. And that's what inspires men to be their best selves. When men see they have a wife who's had their children, that makes a man want to be a good man for that woman. I never said women are powerless. I said that protecting society is the job of men. Police officers should be men, and that the voting and the political matters and the judicial system, a lot of that should be men, because we're evolutionarily designed to protect territory in a way that females perhaps aren't. And it's our job to protect women. We're not trying to protect ourselves. A man's trying to protect his wife, protect his kids, protect his society, protect his town. And I think that the reason that the Western societies are in such trouble now is that everything is conflated. The men are doing the things that women are actually good at innately, and the women are doing things that the men are innately good at. I believe we have God-given talents, and I believe if we all stick to what we're naturally good at, it will optimize our society. It's not a matter of hating women, Piers. It's not a matter of saying that women have no power. It's not a matter of trying to subjugate women at all. It's a matter of protection. It's a matter of me understanding as a man, I have certain duties and certain jobs to do. And I believe a woman has certain duties and certain jobs to do. And that's why I have so many fantastic relationships with women. That's why I have so many children. That's why I take care of them so fantastically and keep them safe. That's why they look up to me and admire me and love me. If I was truly a misogynist, I wouldn't be suffering from all of these offspring and all of these beautiful relationships, which I have. So I think it's just a matter of misunderstanding.
As you were talking, I just reminded that this weekend, the England women's rugby team became world champions. And I watched that game. I don't think they need any help from you. And I don't think they need any guidance about what a woman's place in the world should be. They're world champions because they play a sport at a supremely elite level. I watched it and could not believe the staggering amount of skill and power and pace on display in a women's rugby match. And that's to their great credit. So they shouldn't all be kept at home because actually that's not what most women want to do. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Andrew Tate, I appreciate you coming back on Uncensored. I will follow, as I said to you, I will follow the facts. And if they change, they change. I will keep talking to you and we'll see where it all leads.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Before we go, can I just ask a very simple question? I'm curious as to your input because I do consider you a professional who knows a lot about the world. Do you agree there's something very suspicious about the criminal cases involving me? Just suspicious. Do you think something strange has happened?
Well, I don't think it even matters what I think about it. I think what matters is, have you, at the moment, been convicted of any crime? People say, why do you platform Andrew Tate? And I said, why shouldn't I? They said, because he's a criminal. He's an abuser. He's this and this. And I say, well, actually, as things stand, he has not been convicted of any of those crimes. He's been accused by a lot of people. But the significance of today is that a whole police case against you in one police force has, from a criminal perspective, been dropped. They said the evidence didn't reach the bar for criminal prosecution. That is noteworthy. That's why I've got you on today to discuss it. And I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, joining me in the studio now to react to this breaking news is Samara Gael.
Yeah, that'd be Andrew Tate, bro. Oh shit, we got women on this shit? God damn it. Shall we gonna watch women though? You're charging the question, am I gonna watch women?
Along with historian and commentator Tessa Dunlop. So Tessa, welcome back. It's complicated, Andrew Tate, because I can't quite get my head around why we have to go through year after year after year of his name and his brother's name and all these lurid allegations, and nothing ever seems to come to the point of a criminal conviction. And in fact, today we hear the news that a whole slew of charges against them have now been dropped from one of the two British police forces taking action against them. What is your view?
My view is I've never heard you give so much space to an individual on your Uncensored programme. Oh, to speak in such an unfettered fashion and not be interrupted. But more specifically...
hang on. Just to be clear, I interviewed him only literally like 10 days ago, and we got into a slanging match about various things, including what I think are his pretty odious views about women's place in society. But he's entitled to have those views, right? The question for me is he a criminal? Because
Andrew Tate platforming himself there,
it's different.
Quickly, two secs. Andrew platforming himself there as a victim. It is well known that it might not be well known, but it should be well known. In 2024, only 3% of the rape cases reported to the British police resulted in a charge, let alone a conviction.
Well, what does that have to do with him?
No, because a lot of what he's being charged for, sex with a minor, sex trafficking, etc., involve the two key witnesses being the accused and the accuser. And it is very, very hard to bring the bar high enough for a criminal case, which incidentally is proof beyond reason.
What did this bitch yapping about?
Reasonable doubt. You'll remember Prince Andrew and the Virginia Giuffre case was a civil case. In a civil case, it's balance of probabilities. Are you suggesting to me here that we think, the majority of the British public think that Prince Andrew, for example, is entirely innocent simply because it didn't reach the bar of a criminal case?
All we know about Prince Andrew is that it never got tested in a court of law, in a civil court of law, because at the last minute he gave Virginia Giuffre a reported $11-12 million to make that case go away with no admission of liability. So again, as a journalist, I just don't think it's helpful for people to take an extreme view about these things either way.
I agree with you.
We don't actually know for a fact what Andrew's culpability is in relation to any of the accusers.
He makes out he's this big victim.
I'm talking about Prince. Sorry, just to be clear, I was talking about Prince Andrew. Right. We can all have our view of what he did and how he paid this girl loads of money and the.
This is what I was talking about. Piers Morgan, he always intercept, he always intervene you when you're speaking. That is his power. And Andrew Tate is the only person to ever defeat him during this tactic, bro. He was ranting, ranting over him. That was crazy, though.
The key there is it's a civil case.
No, I understand.
Most of these cases are civil.
I understand, but I'm making the point. We don't know about his guilt, Prince Andrew. He's resolutely and consistently denied any wrongdoing. All we do know, and people can make their own minds up about what they feel about that, is that he gave her millions of dollars to make that case go away, having said, I'm going to clear my name in court. On Andrew Tate, he's faced this slew of allegations. They're all extremely serious, right? Everyone has probably got a view about Andrew Tate, which skews what they think of him before they even get into these kind of things. You know, he's a very abrasive, bombastic, confrontational character.
And has a voice. None of those alleged, let's call them victims, have a voice. None of them have a platform on the Piers Morgan Uncensored show. And the way in which he makes out it's something against him that the women are anonymous, it's a well-known fact that if you are accused of being a rapist and if you accuse somebody of being a rapist, the victim comes off much worse, which is why female victims or those accusing men of raping are granted anonymity. It's not him singled out.
Tessa, I don't disagree with you, right?
And it's so triggering to watch him spew this crap, Piers. It's crap.
No, it may be triggering to you.
It is triggering.
But that doesn't mean to say
a magical creature who's a woman.
It doesn't mean to say that the right way to interview him is to convict him before he's been convicted.
No, I'm not convicting
That's really what you want me to do.
No, but
you want me to scream at Andrew Tate and say you are a sex abuser.
I question you platforming
But actually, I prefer not to do that.
I question you platforming him.
Do you? Why?
Because I think the balance of probability is, and by the way, Romania is a country I know very well.
Well, I know.
I wonder why Andrew Tate chose to go and establish his business emporium in Romania.
Well, explain your connection with Romania.
Oh, I've done a PhD on the history. I work over there a lot. I'm married to a Romanian. I know the country inside out. He thought he was on a buy there, an easy wicket. And guess what? He came unstuck. And yes, one of the cases has been sent back. It's under investigation for procedural errors. But a second, much broader case means he's trapped in Romania. Good. That's thanks to Romania's progress. I'm sorry, good. Good because I think it stinks.
Tessa, fine. Good, because you hate him. That's
No, I
fine.
don't hate him. I don't.
Sounds like you do.
No, I don't
Which
hate
you're
him.
perfectly
But
entitled to.
I don't hate him, but I just think actually there's clearly whether it's.
Be careful what you say.
Okay, let's just remember
Stick to facts.
what he's under investigation for.
Yes.
Sex with a minor.
Yeah.
Money laundering. Trafficking. It may well be that he's untouchable, but I'm very glad that Romania's making sure due process is being
Let me bring
done.
some more in. I mean, look, I remember the very recent case of P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Okay? P. Diddy had an unbelievably huge number of incredibly serious charges. And we know how that played out in the end. This is why, as a journalist, it's not my position to be an activist who has a view about Andrew Tate either way. These are serious charges. People are making serious allegations. My view is the position to take is to just follow where the facts go. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you, but a lot of people don't have that perspective. We always see the media and the people being judge, jury, and executioner to people before they have been found guilty. And the issue is, and today's
I don't
dropping.
lie though, even though this woman is beautiful, she also got brains. The other old woman, she's ugly as fuck. On a good day, she's a 2 with the makeup. She's out here making these crazy takes like, why Piers Morgan ever bring that bitch on?
Before they have been found guilty. And the issue is, and of today's dropping of the charges of the criminal case, is it's going to strengthen Tate's message that it is a witch hunt after him. The public the politicization of the justice
No, I
system
agree. And by the way,
is out
Tessa,
to
you can
get
shake
him.
your head.
Yeah, but you
That-
platformed the message.
No,
We
but
didn't
hang-
need to hear his message if you hadn't platformed him.
I
Piers.
didn't. I don't need to interview anybody. But he's the centre of a big breaking news story today about
So
him.
you felt it was your public duty to platform him? Did you?
I know, not at all. I think it's interesting to interview Andrew Tate on the day that the criminal charges from one of the 2 police forces get dropped. I do think that's interesting and significant.
But let's clarify why that is, because it's very difficult when you're
we
bringing
know
a
why
rape
it
case
is.
to
Oh,
prove
hang on.
it.
We don't have to clarify it.
But I just think we should remember
just to
the
be
vast
clear,
majority of rape
Tessa,
cases don't end up in
putting
a
aside
conviction.
your obvious bias, we don't have to
not
clarify anything because the Crown Prosecution Service said the legal test to bring criminal charges had not been met. They said we undertook a further review of a case filed in relation to allegations of assault and rape between 2013 and 2015. Following careful consideration of the evidence provided by Hertfordshire Constabulary, we concluded that our legal test for prosecution was not met and that no further action should be
And
taken.
to be clear, Andrew Tate said on your show that the police had no evidence. That was an outright lie. They don't have no evidence. They just didn't meet the
He's
evidential bar
entitled
for a
to his
criminal
view.
case.
You're entitled to
And
yours.
I'm challenging his.
You
As
seem
your
to-
friend. He
okay.
proclaims himself your friend. Is he your friend, by the way?
He's not a friend. He's someone I interview
You
regularly.
didn't challenge him on that, though, when he
I've
called
never
you.
met Andrew Tate socially in my entire life.
Just to clarify.
He can call me what he likes.
Didn't it bother you that he kept on talking about your sons? He kept on making a parallel
No.
between himself and your sons.
No.
Like bracketing himself off with all men. Oh, these poor men who are constantly under
No, because
attack
it's,
from
well,
women.
I think it's quite enlightening the way you're
I ain't gonna lie,
reacting
whenever this girl is talking, I'm literally losing brain cells.
to this. Because you in your head have clearly already convicted
No,
him.
I haven't
You
convicted
have.
him. I want
You have.
to wait until the
You don't want to give him any due process.
I don't want to give him a platform in the meantime. Those women aren't. They're cowering, anonymous, because they know that if they came out, boom.
What if they are lying?
Well, if they are lying, due process will make sure that Andrew Tate is
So do you
exonerated
accept-
in Florida, in Romania,
Fine.
in Britain.
Well, the American case is there's no further development on that. That's stopped. The case here, though, if they're lying,
That is the craziest part, bro. For you guys who don't know, those charges in LA, they all drop, man. For you guys who don't know.
there's no further development on that. That's stopped. The case here, though, if they're lying, we don't know yet. Because
No.
the civil case, his
two
lawyer
cases
says,
now.
his lawyer says here, the civil case, it will become clear when people hear the evidence. So let's wait and see what the evidence says. But there's no doubt that the police have concluded, after a lengthy investigation, that the evidence that was put forward of a crime has not been met.
That's not unusual in the vast majority of rape cases. Even when they lead to a charge, they don't result in a conviction
All right,
statistic.
Samara.
I think we go down such a dangerous path when we say, let's deplatform someone who, as of today, as of just your interview right now, he has not been convicted of any criminal
Facts.
wrongdoing. He has not been
Beautiful girls are the only one who support Andrew Tate.
found guilty, which is the big thing. So why are we treating him as if he has been? I think it really diminishes other cases that get brought forward. We really shouldn't be doing this. It's a very dangerous
I
precedent.
do think trial by public jury, right, on social media,
Yeah.
trial by media, all trial by media actually, but particularly these days where social media can be so.
Yeah, that is true though. If you see the way people are talking about PDD, they was acting as if P. Diddy was the worst man to ever step planet on earth. But goddamn, what happened later, bro? My boy is gonna be free literally in like 2-3 years, my guy. So you should not listen to the media. The media should not be the trial. The people with some Twitter accounts should not be the judges. The judges should have their proof and look through it and decide what's gonna happen. Is this person guilty? How long is he gonna serve? Is he not guilty? How much are you gonna pay him for wasting his time and defamate his name? Type shit. That's what I believe.
Toxic and tribal. I've watched immediately the way this development's broken on social media, what people have done. Andrew Tate supporters have immediately rushed to falsely claim he's been cleared of all charges, right? Including Romania.
Yeah.
Not true. Including everything in the UK. Not true. Others have gone the other way and they've raced to say, this means nothing, he's guilty, he's this, he's that. And I'm sitting there looking at this as a journalist going, why don't we just stick to the facts here? Why don't we wait and see if Andrew Tate actually, along with his brother, actually ever gets into a courtroom in a criminal case and has a chance to defend himself against allegations? Because if that never happens, if, as he says, the Romanian system clogs this down for years and years to come, the accusers, they're not served any good public service by that. He isn't, obviously, either, but nor are the public, right? The public will never be able to work out whether he's guilty or not.
Do you know what's really interesting about this? He kept on making out he was the victim. He even tried to trash Romania, suggesting it was their failed judicial system that meant he's trapped there. Oh, poor Andrew, the victim. This is a reminder of just how difficult it is for every woman who is sexually assaulted.
Yes, but
or
you see,
raped
I have
by
a problem.
Look at it from the other way around.
I have a problem
Piers.
with that, you see, because Samara, my problem with that statement is not that Tessa statistically isn't correct.
I am
right?
correct.
I know. I'm not saying that. The rate of conviction for rape cases is
Pitiful.
1%. It's outrageous, right? It's shocking. It shouldn't be like that. I totally agree with you. However, I don't believe in looking at other cases when someone is facing serious charges. I believe, Samara, just going, what is this person facing? Where is the evidence? Who's saying what? Has it been properly investigated? Has it reached a court? Is everybody under oath? And so on. That to me is what I call due process. It's not just shouting, well, he's got away with it, or he's this, or he's cleared, or he's guilty. It's none of those things.
I mean, I'm really sick of this let's believe all women thing. I think this is an overhang from the Me Too.
I don't think we should. We don't need to believe all women. I wasn't
you
suggesting
did
that
just
for a
say-
moment.
Well, by the way, that was a big problem in the Me Too campaign.
Massively.
The big problem came when I heard senior
I like
police
that girl in
officers
the
saying
blue dress.
it's incumbent to believe all women. No. It's not incumbent to believe any accuser. You listen to an accuser, you take their allegations seriously, and you investigate those allegations. What you do not do as a police officer, but in particular, you do not make a presumption of guilt, which is what they were inferring. If you believe an accuser, you are convicting that person they're accusing before they've had any chance to defend themselves.
Just to be clear, as someone who lumbers under an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, it is incredibly hard to prove something has happened. What do you want me to do? Catch the fluid, preserve it in a pot after 10 years? My point is, I'm sorry to be lurid, and that wasn't my case, didn't involve fluids, just to be clear. But the point is, it is incredibly difficult. The two witnesses are the accused and the accuser, and it comes down against the woman every time.
We've got to leave it there. It's a really interesting debate, right?
Thanks.
And he
Piers,
gets
man. I was
everybody
losing
going.
brain cells, I ain't gonna cap.
Saying good, bad, and ugly. A lot of it is ugly. A lot of his views about women and their place in society, however he tried to sugarcoat it, I vehemently disagree with. I've called him out on it many times. But I have always said when I've interviewed him, to be clear, I will follow the evidence and the facts as they're presented in the public domain. I won't listen to social media. I won't have people tell me, you can't do this, you can't do that. If the guy is not being convicted of any crime, which is absolutely the case right now, then he, whether you hate him or like him or even don't care about him, he is entitled to due process.
I don't waste an emotion on him. I just don't like the fact he platformed himself as if he was a victim.
All right.
I don't see him as a victim.
But you don't know he's not a victim. You might think he's got horrible views, but actually, by saying what you've just said, you don't know that. It may be that he
That
is...
is Piers Morgan for staying up for Andrew Tate, bro. Piers Morgan might finally be waking up, chat. Who thought of this, man? I never thought I would have this on my bingo card in 2025, bro. Having Piers Morgan defeating Andrew Tate. Plus, I cannot forget when we all started this year, 2025. Saying 2025 was gonna be our year. We're gonna do the crazy things. We're gonna blow up. We're gonna do all these crazy, big, immense things. And here we are, we haven't achieved the crazy things, bro. It's crazy.
exactly what he's portraying himself as, which is a victim of a vengeful justice system around the world to try and silence him. I don't know.
Or a matrix, as he puts it, as your friend refers to it. A matrix.
Okay,
All against Andrew Tate and other men
him
like
calling
him.
me a friend. I've never met him socially in my life, right? But the reality is, I think it's just better to stick to facts with Tate. And let's see where it takes
So
us.
don't platform again because he talks rubbish
And if
most
he's
of the time.
convicted of crimes, I will be the first to be as censorious as you would be. I just prefer to do that once people have been convicted of a crime, not because I want them to be guilty.
But just remember how difficult it is to bring criminal convictions
Separate
against
issue.
a man.
Bitch, like, how can I mute this bitch, eh?
Separate issue. Anyway, thank you both very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
my friend.
You are my friend. I'm Piers Morgan. I'm a black lesbian.
Yeah, fuck that bitch. She was literally yapping. D1 level of yapping, yo. Alright, chat, so I appreciate everybody, man. Follow my Twitch. I do a lot of reactions like this. Today I was not kind of like high energy because, you know, it was kind of boring this time. There was not a lot of things which I could have myself talk about. But I believe Andrew Tate is innocent. Because the fact he hasn't found anything to put him in jail. And they only put him in jail for 3 months only. And he's been out for over 3 years. That is the visible fact. The man is actually innocent though, genuinely. So shout out to Andrew Tate. The reason why I defend him so much, you guys may wonder why. It's because this man, Andrew Tate, saved me from depression, my guy. I was super depressed. I had my COVID vaccines. I was about to go to university. And Andrew Tate pulled up in my life. Everything changed, genuinely. I didn't go to university. I started streaming. I started being depressed. I started working out. I can show you my physique. You see I got a six-pack. Like, I started working out. I started doing all these good things, man. So shout out to Andrew Tate, man. Shout out to Andrew Tate. I got nothing but love and respect for him, man, G. So, Andrew Tate, I'm gonna keep supporting him, bro. Even if Andrew Tate is found guilty, which I don't believe is gonna happen because he got a lot of power. He got also money, which is one of the most influential things. Plus, it's gonna take over 10 years for him to even be extradited to get to any ending. I'm still gonna support him. And I wanna surprise Andrew Tate with a Lamborghini, man, nigga. I seen him talking about once in a video saying that the best gift a fan can give to him is to pull up on him with a Lambo. So I pull up on him on my Lambo, tell him, you know, I was a kid from Africa, broke as fuck, zero opportunity, start streaming, I blew up, became big. Now look, I got a Lambo. Like, I would generally do that. I don't care where it's gonna be, but I'll talk to him and I'll do it, bro. So that is why I support him. You guys wondering why I support him? That is why. So if you enjoyed this video, and if Andrew Tate saved your life, or changed your life anyway, because I know there's a lot of people, personally, I know who started going to the gym because of Andrew Tate. There's a lot of people I know who stopped to go to university because of Andrew Tate. So that guy, he's the kind of person who changed people. And I genuinely believe that he's one of the reasons why when they tried to bring the monkeypox vaccine in 2024, it didn't work. And if you remember 2020, we all got our shots, my nigga. So, if Andrew Tate changed your life, type 1s in the comments. If you don't think so, it's fine. But me, I'm out.